Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to On the Mic with Mike King here. This is part of the Mike King Biz Media Network, ESPN Richmond, 106.1 International Business Group Radio, as well as CW Richmond. What we do is we showcase RVA and beyond in a different way. We showcase how business helps society be better. You can follow me on social platforms, which is On the Mic with Mike RVA, well as Mike King Biz. Alrighty, so we got to thank our good friend. I'm just a person who's out there talking to great people. So I'm talking to my good friend, Jamie Swain of VPM. And she goes, hey, Mike, have you ever heard about Swim Across America? And I'm like, no, ma'am, I have not. And she goes, wow, they're doing some amazing things. So we got people all over. She is a swimmer. I'm not going to say my swim game is strong. I can hold my own. But it's not up to par for some of the things you do. So we're talking cancer as well as Swim Across America. Got two gentlemen here with me. So George and Craig, welcome to the program, sirs.
Thank you, Mike.
Alrighty, Craig, let's start off with you and talk about Swim Across America. George, will come to you, and then we'll just take the conversation from there.
Sure. Well, I'll give you a little bit about a little background on myself and Swim Across America from a national perspective, because I actually work with the organization now. So I was a former competitive swimmer, Mike. I was on a 1980 Olympic team, had the world record in the 200 butterfly for 3.5 years. And along the way, my mom had cancer when I was in high school, a radical double breast mastectomy in the 70s. I was kind of exposed to the whole experience early on, and it kind of, was involved, parallel to my whole swimming career, my whole life. When I finally retired back then, swimmers and athletes back in the 80s, we didn't make money. Like if I got a free t-shirt, man, I was like busting out dancing, right? It was great. So, but also, even though an athlete, any athlete, not just swimming, you would prepare for the future, but there's still a void to fill. And I was kind of I had another job. I was working in New York City, but there was a void. And Swim Across America came into my life in 1987. And that's kind of when the organization was founded by Matt Vossler and Jeff Keefe. It was a small organization. We were called Swim Across the Sound. We swam across the Long Island Sound, 14 miles. I was the only swimmer that could swim most of it. But the first year we did it, we sunk a boat in the Long Island Sound. We lost money. But like, all athletes and competitive people, we persevered and kept it going. And we continued to grow the organization to multiple events, to now Swim Across America is in its 36th year of existence. We've raised over $100 million that's gone predominantly to cancer research around the country. We have 23 big open water swims around the country. And the beauty of each open water swim is that wherever the money is raised, the money stays there in your backyard. And this is what's so important about what's going on in Richmond, and George can elaborate on that. We also do pool swims, we do other events. But I think the most important thing that people have to understand with what we do, listen, we have the word swim in our name, which Mike, you would probably go, no way am I doing that, right? Because it's swim.
Yes, sir, no.
But people need to understand people swim, but you can volunteer on land. You can help out, you can support. There are many other ways you can support the mission. And we really are a fundraising organization first that just happens to like to swim and be good at it. And we use swimming as our vehicle to try to make a difference. So really what we want is, our Richmond swim, we're going into our 6th year, and, it started off really small with a local committee. And then, we're so blessed to have people like George involved with us, and the passion of a local committee makes all the difference. So it's not a race. It's about participating, having fun, knowing that your money stays local. Like, we're very transparent. We're on GuideStar, Platinum rating, Charity Navigator, top, 4-star. We want people to know their hard-earned dollars are being used correctly. So again, although we're more of a new name in Richmond, we're looking for, the long-term relationship, and it really will support Richmond research. But again, if VCU Massey has a breakthrough, trial, it helps everyone, not just in Richmond, but in the United States and in the rest of the world. So that's kind of what we do. And again, as a swimmer, you know, I found that when I got done with my career and I kind of was a little lost, Swim Across America gave me the opportunity to use my passion for swimming to do some good and make a difference. And it was a no-brainer for me. And because of that, that's why we have a lot of Olympians that participate over the years. We don't pay them anything. There's no appearance fees because that's money that can go to research. We might cover their expenses, you know, just to travel there. But we've had everyone participate. And, you know, this year we have a young woman coming up from Charlottesville, Gretchen Walsh, who just returned from the World Swimming Championships where she won a gold and a bronze. She swims at UVA. She might bring a few of her teammates down. If you live down there, you know, UVA women's swimming is a dynasty. You know, they rule swimming in this country. So we'll have some pretty elite swimmers coming down and sharing their story and sharing their passion for what we do.
So on the mic, Mike Craig is here with me, George as well. George, we're going to get to you in just a second. So, Craig, people of a certain age remember when we didn't even say the word cancer. We didn't. We called it the big C or whatever. And I just had Massey Cancer on. So I had maybe 2 weeks ago, and before that, I had Dr. Wynn, who runs Massey Cancer. And I said to him, hey, Doc, the streets want to know, how did you guys figure this thing out about COVID so quick? The vaccine for COVID, and we're still battling cancer. He said, Mike, we're battling cancer, but we're winning a lot more than we did years ago. And maybe we need to let people know that, because I'm like, you guys sure seem to come up with this thing with COVID in about 15 minutes, and here we still are. But Massey was here just a couple weeks ago, and they were telling, Patty Johnson was here, and she was saying, hey, all the great things are happening at Massey. So really quickly, talk about the mindset of cancer in society now as opposed to years ago.
So I'll say a little bit. I know George can really dig into a lot more than I do. But, you know, years ago, 25 years ago, if you were a child with lymphoma, leukemia, there was a 90% chance you were not going to make it. Right? That was horrible. And, you know, in the 25 years since then, you know, there's like an 85% chance of surviving now and living a healthy lifestyle with it. You know, a lot of blood cancers have become a chronic illness that you learn to live with. So even though we haven't hit a point where there's like 100% cure rate, we've come an incredibly long way from where we were just a couple decades ago. And that's because of research. Right? And no research is a dead end, right? It's kind of what you were discussing with the COVID vaccine. It all came from research that was being used for cancer, for oncology, right? And so the research, even if it's being funded, it doesn't result in a miracle cure or a result in that you might be looking for. That research could be applied and implemented in someone else's research down the road. And that's, none of it's wasted, and it's all good. And, you know, we're not there yet, but, you know, we're getting closer and closer. And there's just been huge breakthroughs because of, the doctors at, Massey.
All right, on to Mike Craig. So George, sir, welcome to the program. Hold up, George. I broke out. There's no expense that we won't do. It's from the here we go. George is with us, ladies and gentlemen. Hey, George, I won't tell anybody, but this is from Five and Below Inshore Pump at West Broad Village.
Okay.
I got this from my granddaughter right there. So we spared no expense here. Welcome to the program, sir.
Thank you.
All righty. So we had the conversation before we came on. You went to the doctor, regular visit like we're all supposed to.
Right.
And then you get some news. So really tell us your story, who you are and what you do and your story.
So my story, well, first of all, my involvement with Swim Across America, I got involved about 2020. I had seen some pictures online of some of my other swimming friends that had participated in years past. I was kind of on a break from swimming at that time, but in 2020, I was back in the water swimming, and we were on some restrictions then, so we really couldn't have a big group with a lot of people. But your event for Swim Across America that year was, you scheduled a time at a pool, you showed up, you did your laps, you raised your money, you got your t-shirt, And I think we had like a little fundraiser at a sandwich shop afterwards. So I thought, oh, it's great. The following year is when the first year when I got involved. A friend of mine who I swim with, she said, "Hey, would you be willing to start a team?" And I work for a software company, so I was happy to set up. You sign up as a participant, you create a team, your own homepage, your team page. You start pushing out fundraising, things like that. And I think we raised about 15,000 that year. So it was a pretty good year. Same friend asked me the following year in 2022 now. And we got our team was bigger, more participation, more donations. We raised about $26,000 that year. And we actually presented a check to Massey last year for $100,000. And that was their number 2 private donation that they got. We went to a little get together they had back in June, and they listed off all of their donors and how much they had contributed. So it was great to see that we had contributed such a good portion of those funds. And the whole time I was just thinking, swimming is, I grew up swimming and swam through college, still swim in masters meets and open water. Raising money for cancer, those are 2 of my favorite things, so to speak, and really just had a passion for it, and was just happy to participate to raise money for this cause. Never thought that I was going to get involved personally in this. So back in I guess it was in January, I had my physical, and doctor said, "Well, you're due for a colonoscopy." I said, "Okay, I'll get that scheduled." Had that in April. Came out of this, and they said, "Well, we found something that we can't remove now. It'll probably have to be removed surgically." And that's when the whole process kicked off. It was they kind of slow rolled it a little bit on me. It wasn't like those conversations where I imagined that, "Oh, Mr. Slushkoff, you have cancer." I finally found out a couple days later. It was that Friday, April 14th. They said, "Well, we got some pathology back on this, and what we found was an ulcerated tumor there, and it did come back with some cancerous cells." So that's where things started. My same friend, Erica, who got me involved in creating the team for Swim Across America, said, "Hey, Swim Across America also does patient advocacy." And I really didn't know about that aspect of Swim Across America. I knew about the research and all that, but the fact that they, kind of help out patients. And she said, you may want to think about second opinions, or is surgery the best option, all sorts of things like that. So she, on the 17th of April, she put me in touch with the CEO of Swim Across America, Rob Butcher. He called me at noon that day. I was surprised, and he said, "Here's some things you can think about, different tests." He didn't claim to, he's not an MD or anything, but he's worked with people who've been, stricken by cancer. And he said, "I've got some contacts at Massey. If you'd like to look at them for a second opinion, additional information, I'd love to put you in touch with them." I said, "Sure." 6 o'clock that evening, he sent me an email. "Massey's in, they want to help." I said, "Great." By the following day, by noon the following day, they were already on the phone with me saying, "Can you make this appointment, this appointment, this appointment?" They did all the legwork for me, and basically put me on a second track, or what I would call a second opinion track, to work in concert with my current doctors, not really, butting heads with them or anything, but saying, "Okay, we want to take our own look at the imaging. We want to take our own look at the pathology and see if we agree." And they found something, that the tumor was a little bit more aggressive than VCI, Virginia Cancer Institute, originally diagnosed things as. And through conversations, those doctors getting together, they recommended a different treatment plan, which VCI was, "Yep, we're on board with this." And that's kind of where I started with all my treatment. It was never the 2 disagreeing with one another. Massey was always, "If you'd like to switch over to us, great. If not, there's no pressure." So they effectively helped guide my treatment, and it gave me the peace of mind that I have a second opinion from a nationally recognized organization like Massey that's influencing things a little bit. And I'm on my way to treatment now. I've been doing some chemo and some radiation so far. Things have been going well, and that's where Swim Across America came to my aid with getting that second opinion and what's probably going to be a better treatment plan for me overall going forward.
On the Mike ESPN Richmond Mike King Biz Radio. George is here with us, Craig, Swim Across America. So George, you had found an organization, you thought it was great. You're just
Yes.
like, man, these guys are it. Everything is cool. I love rolling with them.
Exactly.
And then it becomes personal.
Exactly.
And then it takes another level because you look at it different now. Before
Sure.
you were the person helping out. Talk about what it was like when you got to that moment where like, okay, this went from being a cool organization to support to wow, these people, and you're saying from the top down, a call is put in, and before you know it, the system and process starts to take place.
Exactly. Yeah, it was great. You know, just it was so quickly that they were able to get back to me. I don't know if I would have had that level of access without Swim Across America. You know, the speed at which, like I said, that morning of the 17th, a friend of mine says, "Hey, let me contact the CEO of Swim Across America." At noon, he calls me back. At 6 o'clock, he says, "Massey is in." The following day, Massey is scheduling these appointments for me. So it did get personal. I always thought I was going to be involved in Swim Across America and just to be helping somebody else, somebody less fortunate than me. I've had some friends that have been affected by cancer, and I've always named them in my in my bio and my Swim Across America page that we do. Never thought it would be involving me, but yeah, it did get personal, and it's great to just have that support. And I've been going around to local other masters swimming groups and doing some campaigns and, trying to bring awareness to everything. And when I was down at Swim RVA for one of these masters groups, somebody who works for VCU approached me and basically validated everything that everybody's been saying about Swim Across America. She says, I work for VCU. We don't get the funding for these research projects until we get something like a grant from Swim Across America, until we can prove that we're getting some results. So they get the money for the grant for the research to kick it off. They start getting results, and then they start getting additional funding from National Cancer Institute, National Institute of Health. I think Swim Across America has some statistics out there that say that it's usually like a 4 or 5 times return on that investment when Swim Across America gives the original grant to the researcher, as you compare it to what they get after they start showing these results and they get the additional funding.
So
Yeah.
Craig, George's story, you've heard this before. You've heard this magic before.
Yes, and it's you know what? It's powerful. I mean, we all just, you'll hear this said often at all of our events, and you'll hear it at our Richmond Swimming, like, we are family, right? And when we come together, I mean, there are passionate people there who want to make a difference. And what's really neat about our events is, the doctors will come to our events. Some of them swim, some of them, kayak, or they volunteer. They'll speak and they'll tell you how important, what the funding is to them. Like George mentioned, we tend to fund young investigators who have brilliant research, but again, the NIH isn't going to fund them unless they have real data. And that's the catch-22 they find themselves as. Well, how do I get data if I don't have funding? So we kind of, in a way, look at ourselves as angel investors. We work closely with the directors of oncology at the hospital. It's directed to the right people. And then, as George mentioned, yes, it's about a 5-to-1 ratio where, we'll fund research, a particular doctor's research. They'll take that data, they'll go back and they can leverage it, and it'll turn into a much larger grant. So the money coming in doesn't stop after our event. It keeps growing. And it will continue to fund cancer research. And then that can help launch them on their career to do bigger and better things. So, but the coolest part is, you can come to an event and actually sit and talk to the doctors right there and ask them questions and find out what are we doing here? And like, where is this funding going? And, how can I help? And that's the, the most important part is we want to make a difference in the community and bigger picture.
All right, gents, on the mic, Mike. Craig is here. George is here. We're talking with Swim Across America. Let's talk about the event. When is it? Let's get the particulars on it.
George, I mean.
All right, so it's going to be August 26th at the Quest Pool down the Midlothian area. I think Craig mentioned before, we've done some open water swims. We're moving it to a pool this year. Some people prefer the open water, but I think with the pool swim, it's logistics are easier. You know, you don't have a start point that's a mile away from the end point. How do you spectate on something like that? So everybody's going to be in the same place. We're going to have options for people that want to swim a half a mile, some people that want to swim a mile, or some that just want to swim as far as they can. We'll probably get some competitive people in there that'll try to pound out as many yards as they can in that time frame. But you also have, you know, just the beginners that want to be involved. We're going to have some relays for kids. We're going to have a DJ. We're going to have food. We're going to have some giveaways, things like that. So it's going to be a really fun event, and hopefully we can get some of those last minute donations, you know, while we're on site for doing the event on August 26th.
So George, really quickly, what we do here is let's talk about some of the sponsors, because I always say, I got a saying here on my show, the microphone ain't free, plus my grandkids need stuff. So let's talk about the sponsors, because they're the ones who are advertisers, people who are important to make this happen.
Right. Well, as far as, you know, specific sponsors, we're going around to just getting like some corporate donations. We did a fundraiser last night over at Chard down in Midlothian, where they're doing $1 for every pizza that's sold, you know, every month or every Monday in August. So it can be as big as corporate type sponsors or just local businesses. We've got a dentist office. We've got a engineering firm that's sponsoring this. So they can either get their name on the t-shirt, in the back of the t-shirt, or they can just agree to you know, make it an actual donation.
All righty, whatever I can do to help, just let me know. Craig, any last words of wisdom for us?
Just, you know, every person makes a difference, everyone. And, you know, you can make a difference whether you show up and swim, or just show up and be a part of the organization, or make a donation. It really makes a difference. And that's why we're moving forward in our fight against cancer.
There you go. Also, as I say, I come from preachers, and so I'd be remiss. I always like to say that. I'd be remiss if I didn't mention my good friend Mindy Conklin from Hitting Cancer Below the Belt. Get checked, because that's one of the things, early detection. You say, George, it changed the course of your life. You just happen to be standing with Swim Across America.
That's
and
right.
you know, it worked out for you. But George, I'll connect with you. There's some things that we do from a fundraising standpoint that we'll be able to help out from
Sounds
the program. All righty, gentlemen. Jamie Swain, we'd like to thank her for putting us together. Anything I can do to help you guys. George, one time you're going to come back on and we're going to talk some sports. I normally don't talk sports, but you know, with this right here, we can talk a little bit of swimming. We all have our favorites who are out there. So, you know, we can talk some sports sometime, and we could throw in Swim Across America, because we always looking to tell a good story here.
Sounds great. Love to do it.
Thank you.
All right, thanks. Now take care, fellas. Thank you. Take care.
Thank you, George.
Thank you.